Hello, and thank you for joining me for my little discussions on yoga props and how to use them. In the previous video, we talked about yoga mats and other stuff that can cushion us, like skitless mats, skitless towels, and Mysore rugs. Today we're going to talk about yoga blocks. So, yoga blocks are just one of those things that I have noticed students purchasing and then after that never really using, which is a shame because they actually are quite important um, when it comes to certain poses. It helps us express that yoga pose, yoga asana, in a better way, in a safer way, and we should actually utilize the blocks as much as we can, provided we need to use it. So today I have brought out the foam blocks, and I usually use wooden blocks. Okay, these are the wooden blocks. Both, and we also have cork blocks, which I don't have. You can purchase cork blocks online. That's C-O-R-K, cork blocks. And cork blocks are kind of in between wood and foam, so they are more stable than foam, harder than foam, but they're not as hard as the actual wooden blocks that I have here. Okay, and I think their price range is actually more than either one of these. Wood and foam tends to be cheaper, and of course foam is the cheapest form of blocks, so you can just opt to get foam blocks. They work quite well, although they're not that stable for some of the uses of the blocks. So I have thought of 4 different ways. Okay, I could be wrong, 3. But initially I thought of 4 different ways that yoga blocks are used. So yoga blocks are firstly used in standing poses, especially in forward fold standing poses, when you haven't really learned how to tip the pelvis in a forward position when you fold forward, when you bend forward. Okay, the second way is for safety reasons. In seated poses, you may use the yoga blocks to support the hips so that the knees and the ankles are not compromised. The third way I've thought of is for yoga blocks to help prop you in yoga back bends, especially on lying down, seated, lying down, reclining kind of back bends. The yoga blocks are really helpful. And the last way only is in relation to the foam blocks, and that's to cushion the knees in certain poses. So we'll start with the first one. Yoga blocks to help you reach downward in standing forward pose. So let's start with a simple standing forward fold. So seat as Uttanasana, feet are hip width apart, and you're exhaling, folding, hands are on the floor, head is down. So this requires a forward tilt of the pelvis, and it may take some time for us to get used to this. It took me about 2 years to be able to get into this kind of shape. Tendency would be to round up the back and kind of reach for the floor. So that's when you want to have your hands on the block when you're unable to move into this position. You're really rounded, so this kind of supports and helps the low back to not take any strain or weight. The low back is meant to be a stable joint. You wouldn't want to put too much stress on it, and you do not get a slip disc when you stand up again. So this position, your hands are here, reaching position in a forward bend. Okay? So this is what you can use the blocks for, to reach downward. So other poses, example would be Parsvottanasana, pyramid pose. Now, stepping forward, stepping back, straight leg. So again, this pose tendencies to round off and you can't reach, so you can't balance. You don't want to put your shin here and you don't want to bend the knee because this is not really Parsvarottanasana, this is not pyramid pose. So unable to do this using the blocks, this again helps the low back. Okay, for you to extend and drop the head down rather than round off and reach. Okay, the second way we said was using blocks to support you in seated poses. So, good example would be Baddha Konasana. So here, tendency would be both knees to lift up if you're not used to this pose, or even tighter, one side up, one side down. Because your, for example, right side is so much tighter. This puts a strain. Firstly, you can see my right ankle is tickled. It may cause a strain on the knee. So what you would want to do is sit on a block. So that gives your hips a little bit more height. Okay. Another way, so this is part one. If you have more blocks, you place the blocks under your knees. Give your hips and knees even more support. Okay. So this is one way of using the blocks. Then you exhale full forward. You don't have any stress or that much stress on knees, hips, and ankles. Alright. So this works for all kinds of seated poses. Same here. So if you're using a block for Paschimottanasana, okay, straight leg seated forward bend. Block is here, lifting up spine. This helps you tip forward more rather than sitting flat. If Dandasana is tough for you, then on the block is always safer. Another one is Triangula Mukha Paschimottanasana. So this one gives you height. All the ones where the hips or the glutes or the low back happen to be tight, even in pigeon. Okay, I'll do it on the left so you can see clearer. So pigeon, you want to get the right knee to point backwards, but you can't. So what happens is you tip over so that one side is lifted. That's not going to be helpful to you. Also, of course, things like splits. So Hanumasana, okay, tendency in Hanumasana is to have your hip open up like that, right? I'm not good at doing the split, so I'm just showing you. This hip is open. That should really not be the case. You should be kind of like, okay, so this is my split. You should be having the hip square, kind of like warrior one. Okay, kind of like a lunge position where hips are square, not opened up to the side, yeah? Right. So this is where you use props in seated or mat poses, not standing poses, to help safety for knees, for joints, yeah. Now reclining poses. Now reclining poses for back bend. That's the third way props can help you. These you really need wooden blocks or cork blocks compared to foam blocks. So foam blocks not as supportive. One would be reclining bridge. So lying down, supported bridge pose, placing the block underneath, and straightening up the legs, Setu Bandhasana, this pose. Okay, or if your back bend is good, you can go a little higher, straightening up the knees. Okay, if you have two foam blocks, you can do this quite comfortably as well. So you can stack one foam block above the other, hips down. I hope you can see that. Okay, like that. And so other forms of reclining back bends would be with this supporting the upper back and this supporting the head. So again, this you would need kind of a stronger kind of block, more firm, more stable block. So I'll lift my arm so you can see, right? If you have, say, 4 of the 4 blocks, you may be able to do this comfortably. So that's yoga blocks for restorative back bends, reclining back bends, helping you to open up how to use the blocks. The last way of how to use a block would be cushioning for especially lunge poses. So in crescent lunge, tendency would be for the back knee, people with knee issues or runners, they may find that the back knee has problems. So you may want to place a foam block on the back knee, and that kind of gives you a little bit more height, a little bit more cushion, especially if you were to be asked to reach back, to pull the foot in, okay, into a king pigeon 2 kind of pose. That really helps the height and the cushion, right? So those are the 4 ways that I've thought of that you can use props, yoga blocks, foam and wood, or cork. If you have any other questions, please comment or private message me, or you can also contact me. Go to the contact page on danyoga.fit. I'm Daniel, and I hope this talk has been helpful to you. Please let me know. Thank you. Namaste. Om Shanti.